Welcome to Boomi Flow Essentials. In this first section, we'll take a look at where Boomi Flow fits into the Boomi platform and its potential uses and impacts on your current organization's business. We'll start with the elements of the Boomi platform. The integrate portion of the Boomi platform allows you to integrate applications and data. Boomi gives you the ability to connect all of your applications and data sources across your IT landscape to unlock data silos and achieve pervasive integration. The Hub portion of the Boomi platform, also known as Master Data Hub, allows you to synchronize and enrich your data through a data hub so your organization has trusted data for making business decisions. The Exchange portion of the Boomi platform is where B2B or EDI management takes place to achieve interoperability between your internal systems and your ecosystem of trading partners to extend the reach of your business operations. The Mediate portion of the Boomi platform is composed of API design and management. This is where you have the ability to modernize and expose underlying data as APIs to deliver scalable and secure real-time interactions for the new world of applications. The Flow portion of the Boomi platform gives you the ability to do workflow automation and app development. With Flow, you can automate workflows on any channel, device, or platform to create new experiences for your customers, partners, or employees. Flow's role is to connect humans with the technology and processes. Boomi Flow allows you to create stateful, long-running processes to keep human tasks on track. Boomi Flow also allows you to create mobile-friendly UI so your personnel can engage from any device. Boomi Flow can also be better known as an application development platform. The traditional method of building an application required quite a few moving parts before you'd reach the point of implementing your idea into reality. The typical process included app design, development, security, monitoring, upgrades, and scalable architecture. Enter Boomi Flow. This low-code app development platform gives you the same versatility to code any sort of creative app and also handles infrastructure, security, and mobile friendliness. The Draw feature of Boomi Flow allows you to model your workflow automation or business process management app with drag-and-drop tooling on the Boomi Flow canvas. Publish in Boomi Flow allows you to package all elements of your application and manage version control. Engage is the human element of Flow, where the user engages directly with your workflow or BPM app. Your app isn't limited by the boundaries of being just a sales dashboard, or an MDM quarantine manager, for example, or a customer self-service portal, but it can do all of those things. If an idea can be built with industry-standard web development tools, then it can be built with Flow, and significantly faster than coding it. Here are some sample apps. On the left is a self-service portal, on the right a dashboard of client implementations. This mobile friendliness is supported directly out of the box. To highlight this, here you see the same dashboard on two different screen sizes. We can scroll the browser window in and out and watch it switch between these views in real time. Flow serves as a way to simply aggregate data and content from many systems. This simulation shows a portal built with Flow. It includes demos of Flow use cases. Feel free to access the site and check them out for yourself. The URL is boomiflow.com. Boomi Flow can also be better known as an application development platform. The traditional method of building an application required quite a few moving parts before you'd reach the point of implementing your idea into reality. The typical process included app design, development, security, monitoring, upgrades, and scalable architecture. Enter Boomi Flow. This low-code app development platform gives you the same versatility to code any sort of creative app and also handles infrastructure, security, and mobile friendliness. The Draw feature of Boomi Flow allows you to model your workflow automation or business process management app with drag-and-drop tooling on the Boomi Flow canvas. Publish in Boomi Flow allows you to package all elements of your application and manage version control. Engage is the human element of Flow, where the user engages directly with your workflow or BPM app. Your app isn't limited by the boundaries of being just a sales dashboard, or an MDM quarantine manager, for example, or a customer self-service portal, but it can do all of those things. If an idea can be built with industry-standard web development tools, then it can be built with Flow, and significantly faster than coding it. Here are some sample apps. On the left is a self-service portal, on the right a dashboard of client implementations. This mobile friendliness is supported directly out of the box. To highlight this, here you see the same dashboard on two different screen sizes. We can scroll the browser window in and out and watch it switch between these views in real time. Flow serves as a way to simply aggregate data and content from many systems. This simulation shows a portal built with Flow. It includes demos of Flow use cases. Feel free to access the site and check them out for yourself. The URL is boomiflow.com. Now let us take a look at some typical Flow use cases for business process or workflow automation. Flow can be used for process orchestration, such as smart processes or augmenting your various systems and onboarding employees into your organization. Flow is very useful for field service because it is mobile friendly right out of the box and can be run offline, such that a user can leave connectivity to a remote site and the data and actions can be resynchronized upon their return to connectivity. Flow is also extremely useful for customer service. For example, let's talk about Quick Hit Info. Perhaps this is a customer service agent script when a healthcare patient is calling into a contact center. Alternatively, perhaps it's a self-service portal for troubleshooting your garage door. Both exceptionally strong use cases in production with Boomi customers today. In this section, we'll be learning about the architecture or core of BoomiFlow. BoomiFlow can be better known as an API-first platform. The BoomiFlow platform architecture is composed of UI/UX, the BoomiFlow core, and integration services. BoomiFlow apps are largely distributed as HTML5 apps. The UI/UX is composed of Twitter Bootstrap, Facebook React, and Ajax for offline capabilities. BoomiFlow is therefore UI responsive with any device. Twitter Bootstrap is the most popular HTML, CSS, and JavaScript framework for developing responsive mobile-first websites. Facebook React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. And Ajax or offline is better known as asynchronous JavaScript and XML. It is a method of building interactive applications for the web that process user requests immediately. Ajax allows content on a web page to update immediately when a user performs an action. The BoomiFlow core platform allows everyone to build apps. Our core is a multi-tenant cloud platform with elastic scaling. This core is configured using drag-and-drop tooling, but can also be configured using metadata APIs. The core supports a number of critical capabilities. Connect allows integration services to connect frameworks and integrate your workflow applications with any third-party platform or application. The image shown here was taken from the BoomiFlow platform to give you an idea of how to install integration services within BoomiFlow and how they appear once installed. Our platform includes user management for flow builders, individuals building the workflow applications, and automatic provisioning for workflow applications that use third-party services for identity. For example, users of your app log into Salesforce, not BoomiFlow, but we ensure that they are correctly provisioned into your app for tracking purposes. Model is fundamental to the BoomiFlow platform and allows for the ability to model your workflow or flows. All of the modeling can be done using our drag-and-drop tooling, or you can work directly with the BoomiFlow metadata APIs. This image gives you a glimpse of how a sample workflow appears on the BoomiFlow canvas when using the drag-and-drop tooling of BoomiFlow to model a flow. Everything you build on the BoomiFlow platform has internalization built in. This means you can translate your apps to any language without needing to change the logic. Once you've built your flows and are ready to distribute the resultant app to your eager user base, we provide a snapshot capability to allow you to manage versions and updates with ease. We also keep a history of snapshots of your flows so you can track changes and manage rollbacks as needed. The screenshot captured from the BoomiFlow platform here shows you how versions appear within the flow and create snapshots of the sample flow we looked at earlier. With many enterprise customers, it's unlikely you go straight from your computer to a live production rollout. As a result, we provide packaging and distribution support, allowing you to move your flows between BoomiFlow environments like development, staging, and production, for example. Packaging can also be used to distribute template solutions. Here's an image taken from the BoomiFlow platform to show you how quick and easy importing and exporting a flow within BoomiFlow can be done. Once a flow is converted into an app, it becomes accessible to run. The core BoomiFlow platform is API first, meaning your apps are made accessible through our standard run APIs. These are the APIs that our HTML5 UI framework uses to create the pages and screens your users interact with. This screen capture of an app shows how the modeled sample flow shown earlier from the BoomiFlow canvas is published and then run to render as a responsive app. In addition to the running of your flows as apps, the platform also provides capabilities to allow you to embed those apps in other systems. For example, users might want to access your app directly inside Salesforce, or for example, your app might start when a user uploads a file into a particular folder and box. Integration services allow BoomiFlow apps to connect to third-party applications using a microservice architecture. Rather than connecting directly to the third-party application from the drag-and-drop modeling environment, we abstract all systems using a service framework. Flow builders don't need to learn all of the nuances of various applications and platform APIs. We have software developer SDKs for Java, C#, and Salesforce Apex to accelerate the development of integration microservices, or you can create an AtomSphere integration process. As part of the execution of your apps on the BoomiFlow platform, we track various activities, events, errors, etc. to make management easier. This data can be stored in our standard repository, or we can push reporting data to any third-party system. Many of our customers prefer to have all of their data in one place, so they have a holistic view of how their business is operating. The demonstration that follows will be an activity to show you how to create a subtenant within your main tenant named BoomiFlow Essentials. Let us begin by going to platform.boomi.com/#login to access the Boomi AtomSphere platform. So just enter your credentials for logging into Boomi AtomSphere. Once you're in the Boomi AtomSphere platform, if you come to the right-hand corner of the platform, you'll see this drop down with integration. You can hover over integration and then click on flow. You'll then be redirected to the login for the BoomiFlow platform. Here we have created a username for this training by the name of boomiflowtraining@gmail.com. You'll just be using your username here. Enter that and then enter your password. From here you'll see your main tenant with the naming convention similar to this. The main tenant here is brett-brown-dellboomi.manywho.com. Your naming convention should be similar for your main tenant based on the form that you filled out when signing up for your BoomiFlow account. So click on your main tenant here. Then there is a tutorial that will guide you through building your first flow if you'd like, but at this time we're just going to close that by clicking on the X. We're going to expand the toolbar on the left-hand side, and then we're going to click on the tenant icon. And then you'll see that we're in our main tenant. As we have the ability to add subtenants here, you can see my username and then my name and my role as a builder. So I'm going to click on New Subtenant. And then here in the subtenant naming text box, we're going to enter BoomiFlow Essentials. And as you can see, it's all one word with no spaces. Just enter the information just like you see in your activity guide here, and then click on the blue Create button. And now we have our BoomiFlow Essentials subtenant created here. We can see it listed as a subtenant in our subtenant section. Then we'll come over here and click on the gravatar icon. And here we can see that we're in our main tenant. And then this is the tenant ID associated with this main tenant. So click on the blue Change Tenant button. You can see the highlighted tenant, our main tenant, is the tenant we're in currently, but we want to switch over to our BoomiFlow Essentials tenant. So click on this BoomiFlow Essentials subtenant. And then again, we have our tutorial. We can just close this. Now we'll click on the Gravatar icon again. And here we can see that we are now in our BoomiFlow Essentials subtenant. So next what we'll do then is click on the tenant icon again. And then we see that we're in our subtenant, as we do not have the ability to add any subtenants within here. And also here is where you would be able to add a new user. And that is simply done by clicking on the plus add user button. And you would enter the first name, last name, and email or username of the user that you'd like to add to your tenant. Then click on register builder, and they would be added to this tenant and have a role of a builder. We're just going to click on back here. The new flow builder's information would be listed here under your own information, and they would have access to this tenant to create and work with the flows just as you yourself have the ability to do so. So now we're just going to click on the flows icon to return to our flows homepage, and then that brings us to the end of this activity. Now you may take approximately 10 minutes to complete activity 1 using your activity guide and referencing pages 5 through 11. In this section, we will learn what the terms tenant and subtenant mean within the BoomiFlow platform and how to access them. In this section, we will cover how to access your tenant, creating a subtenant, switching between tenant and subtenant via the Gravatar icon, creating a new user within a tenant or subtenant, and creating comments about your tenant that users will be able to see. Once you have logged into BoomiFlow, you will have to select your main tenant. The image here is showing that the main tenant is brett-brown-dellboomi.manywho.com. When you create a BoomiFlow account, you are assigned a tenant, which can also be known as your main tenant, where all of your flows, content, and metadata related to your flows is saved. A tenant is also the place where all your flows, types, values, and service integrations are stored and accessed by using the BoomiFlow drawing tool. Subtenants are added or created within your main tenant. A subtenant is a new tenant under the main tenant account. Subtenants do not have visibility into the content, flows, values, or service integrations of the main tenant, and vice versa. You may use different subtenants for different divisions of your company. For example, separate subtenants for HR and accounting. Subtenants can also help to organize your projects. For example, you can logically separate out development environments into deployment, staging, and production. Tenants and subtenants are similar in many ways. You can log into your main tenant or subtenants using the same password. The naming convention is shown here for a main tenant and a subtenant. For example, a subtenant could be created for BoomiFlow Essentials, which may appear like this. The naming convention for main tenants and subtenants does not allow for any spaces between characters and only allows for letters and numbers to be used for naming. The tenant icon is located on the left-hand side of the screen and can be selected from the Home tab left-hand navigation toolbar. This allows you to access your main tenant and the various subtenants associated with that main tenant. When accessing the main tenant screen shown in this image, click on the green plus sign New Subtenant button located on the right-hand side of the screen to create a new subtenant within your main tenant. In this image, the name BoomiFlow Essentials is going to be used for creating a subtenant. You also notice that there is a comment below the text box that shows you the naming convention for subtenants again. Just remember that your new subtenant name cannot have any spaces between the numbers and letters you use. Then you will click on the blue Create button at the bottom of the screen to create your new subtenant. Now that the new subtenant has been created, you will see this new subtenant listed under the subtenant section within the main tenant. Click on the Gravatar icon in the upper right-hand corner of the platform to see which tenant you are in within the platform. Clicking on the Gravatar icon will open a window that will indicate the name of the tenant or subtenant. Here we can see that we are in our main tenant because we see the name of the main tenant in this example is brett-brown-dellboomi.manywho.com. You should see a similar tenant name with your name and company name being used for this main tenant naming convention, taken from when you created your BoomiFlow account. Below your main tenant name, you will also see your tenant ID shown, which is a universally unique identifier, or UUID, that is assigned to each tenant. each subtenant created within a main tenant will also receive a UUID. Click on the blue Change Tenant button then to open the Select a Tenant window. Once you click on the Change Tenant button, you will then see your subtenant and main tenant shown in the Select a Tenant window. The highlighted main tenant is the tenant you are currently in. You will then select your subtenant that you created for BoomiFlow Essentials by clicking on the BoomiFlow Essentials subtenant. The search bar shown in this Select a Tenant window is able to be used for searching for a tenant by the tenant's name or the tenant ID that is assigned to the tenant. Within your subtenant, you have the ability to add a new user, just like you have the ability to do so within your main tenant. A recommendation when adding new users is to only add new users to subtenants so that you and colleagues or coworkers can collaborate on the building of flows only within a specific environment, such as this BoomiFlow Essentials subtenant that you will create. You'll also notice that subtenants cannot be created within a subtenant, as there is no plus new subtenant button shown anymore. This is also another way to reassure yourself that you are in your subtenant. To add a new user, click on the green plus new user button in the right hand corner of the screen. To add a new user or new flow builder, all you need to do is enter the first and last name and email of the user you would like to add to your subtenant. They will then in turn have access to this subtenant when they log into their BoomiFlow account using the email that you have provided, which should be their username for accessing their own BoomiFlow account. Then, click on the Register Builder button to finalize the process of granting the new user access to this subtenant as a new flow builder. The new flow builder or user information will then be shown below your own user information within the subtenant. The comments section of the subtenant can be used to inform flow builders of what types of projects will be built in this subtenant and any other important information that needs to be shared about the subtenant. The demonstration that follows will be a review of the Home tab and walkthrough of the various features of the Home tab within BoomiFlow. Here we'll take a look at the BoomiFlow Home tab. Now I'm using my subtenant that has the app that we're about to create already shown. So you can see that this flow is that of our BoomiFlow employee app that we're about to build, but we're just going to walk through some of the parts of the Home tab. Here we can see our flows page. And if we click on the pages icon here, we can see our employee app page is shown. So this is a quick way to get to our page layouts where we can create a new page layout too. And if we click on values, we can see the values that have been created through the building of this app. We can see a look into some of the values that you're going to be working with when we're building our app. All you need to do is simply click on new value to create a new value. And then we're going to click on services. So here's where we have our services or third-party service integrations. Here we used an email service. Then we can click on types. And you can see some types. We have some system types and some types that were created for the app. If we click on assets, we can see here that there's a Dell Boomi logo, and if we wanted to simply add more files, we just click in this box and it'll access our computer drive where we would have our files saved. We have our tenant, and this shows that we're in our subtenant. You see our email, which is our username, and my first and last name. We can add a new user, and this is just a look into the subtenant. Then we have our API. The API is where we can interact with BoomiFlow even more in depth. Click on Import and Export. This gives us the ability to import or export flows. So here if I click on Select a Flow, you'll see that we have our BoomiFlow employee app that we can select. And we can generate a sharing token or download the JSON package. Here we can also import a sharing token or a JSON package. And if we click on players, you'll see another screen where we could edit a player. We can look at the default player. So you can see the code that lies behind the default player. The default player is not editable, but you can copy it and then edit it from there if you've created a new player. Then we'll click on macros. And here we can create or edit macros. Remember, macros are going to be mathematical functions that we can create in BoomiFlow. The only mathematical operation that we can't do is division. If we click on metrics, we can view the running flows. We can see if there's any service failures, service requests, and other insight into our services and the states that we've created. If we click on dashboard, we'll see some more information about our flows, and we can see the number of times that the flow states have been launched. And then we can click on docs. And this will take us to our docs site where we have our BoomiFlow documentation. There's a wide variety of additional information that you can use here to learn more about BoomiFlow and how to work with the tool. And then we have our support where you can submit a ticket if you come across a problem with your account or with your BoomiFlow. And then our ability to sign out of our account. So then I'm just going to click on the flows page to return back to where we started. And then that brings us to the end of our walkthrough of the Home tab. In this section, we will begin talking about the BoomiFlow Home tab. Let's look at the UI starting with the Home tab. The Home tab and Flows page is your starting point. This is the default state of the Home tab. When you first sign into your tenant, there will be no flows shown since none have been created. However, in this image, you are seeing the flow that you are about to build throughout the upcoming activities. Now let us focus on the toolbar on the left-hand side of the screen and speak about these icons. The menu on the left-hand side of the Flow Home tab is minimized by default. Clicking on the greater than icon expands the menu. Clicking it again minimizes the menu back to the default view. When the left-hand navigation toolbar is expanded on the Home tab, we can now see the names of each of the icons shown. The left-hand toolbar of the Home tab is broken down into 4 sections. The first and top section is where you find icons to access and create flows, page layouts, values, services, types, and importing assets. The second section is the settings section, where you can access the tenant and external storage. The third section is the tools section, where you can access the BoomiFlow API, import or export flow packages, access and edit players, create macros, and access your BoomiFlow dashboard for reporting and tracking purposes. And the fourth section is the help section, where you can access BoomiFlow documentation, email support, and sign out of your BoomiFlow account. The first section, as we mentioned, is used to create flows, page layouts, values, services, types, and import assets. The second section is used to access the tenant and external storage. The flows icon is where you are able to access your created flows as well as create new flows. The pages icon takes you to the page layout screen, where you are able to create and structure a page that will be shown to the user. A page layout is extremely extensible and gives you a variety of options to structure and display rich content. The values icon takes you to the values screen, where you're able to create a new value. Values are how data gets into the system. Values in BoomiFlow are similar to variables in the programming paradigm. They are containers that have a name and contain data. This data can be numbers, text, dates, instances of a type, say type customer, or another value. The services icon takes you to the services screen, where we are able to install a service. Services allow the user to extend or integrate the BoomiFlow platform with third-party applications. The type screen is where we are able to create a new type. A type is an object used to send data to and from a service. A type uses a predefined structure, i.e., an account, person, or message. We can use types to create representations of real-world objects we are likely to use in our app, and a type can have properties. The Assets screen is where you can drop a file into the dotted line box or click to select files from your computer. Assets are files we may want to include in our workflow, like images, videos, or presentations. These are static resources that could be images, presentations, spreadsheets, text files, code snippets, or brand identity kits like logos or custom graphics. The tenant screen is where you will also see a section shown for subtenants. Here we can also add a new user to our tenant or subtenant and create subtenants when we are accessing the main tenant. The third section is the Tools section. This section provides access to the BoomiFlow API, import-export flow packages, players, macros, metrics, and the flow dashboard. Access to the BoomiFlow API is opened by clicking on the API icon. The abbreviation API stands for Application Programming Interface. The API is a software library or protocol that facilitates interaction between different software or services. The API tool can also be used to perform actions like locating the tenant ID by performing a get API /admin/1/tenant query. Import-export gives you the ability to import and export flow packages using sharing tokens or using JSON packages. Importing or exporting with sharing tokens or JSON packages does not bring players or macros along with an associated flow, however. The BoomiFlow players are the interface used to render flows. BoomiFlow players use themes. Think of them as skins for your apps. Flow comes with all of the boot swatch themes standard, as well as the Salesforce One theme. You can also create new players and customize the CSS code to your liking. The fourth section is the Help section. Here you can access the docs site where a large variety of BoomiFlow information is documented. Support is where you may submit a support ticket to the BoomiFlow help desk if you encounter a problem. And last is the sign out icon, which allows you to sign out of the BoomiFlow platform and your BoomiFlow account. In this section, we will take a deeper look at the Flow canvas. Flow is a collection of metadata, map elements, and group elements that define a process. This is the BoomiFlow design canvas. This is where you will work to build your flows that will render as an app once published and run. The elements of BoomiFlow can be found along the left-hand side of the canvas. A Flow ID and Flow Version ID are generated at the bottom of the Flow canvas when you start building your flow. The Flow ID remains constant throughout the lifecycle of the flow. Anytime a change is made on the canvas, such as adding a new map element, like a step element for example, the Flow Version ID changes. Therefore, the Flow Version ID stores a unique identifier generated by the Flow engine for each version of the flow. In the bottom right-hand corner of the Flow canvas, you will find the Help menu for the Flow canvas. This can be accessed by simply pressing Ctrl+H. This Help menu gives you quick key requests and actions that can be made when working with the Flow canvas. The elements found on the left-hand side of the BoomiFlow canvas are known as map elements. The start element is default and fixed to the BoomiFlow canvas. It cannot be deleted or manipulated. The step element is used to display rich text content to the end user when the flow is rendered as an app. The page element in BoomiFlow lets you create and structure a page. It is used in BoomiFlow to mimic an HTML form. The decision element allows you to route your flow via different execution paths depending on a set of conditions. For example, if a value is equal to a specific text. The operator element allows for the creation and updating of values. It can be used to concatenate two values, for example. The operator can perform math operations on number values, but one operation it cannot perform is division. The message element is used to send requests to third-party systems or service providers. The remaining map elements load, save, and delete will be covered in later trainings. Swim lane is found here on the BoomiFlow canvas as well, but it is not a map element. It is therefore known as a group element. In this section, we will speak in more detail about the start element. The first thing you will see on the flow canvas is the start element. This map element is visually represented by a green circle with the legend start written in white text. The start element represents the beginning of a flow. The start element is where your flow begins on the BoomiFlow canvas. The start element is not rendered in your app. Flows can only have one start element, and only one map element can be connected to the start element. In this section, we will speak in more detail about the step element. The step element is represented by a light blue box that is able to be dragged onto the flow canvas. It allows the flow builder to create a simple user interface. Therefore, it presents visual data to the user. It is a very flexible and creative map element that can be used in many ways within flows. When the step element is placed on the BoomiFlow build canvas, the step element window will open on the right-hand side of the screen. Here you are able to name the step element and enter rich text content to display to the end user. The step element can even contain videos. Once a step element is created, it can be edited or even deleted. In this section, we'll be speaking about the Insert Edit Image icon. The Insert Edit Image icon allows you to insert an image from your computer drive into a step element or presentation component. When the Insert Edit Image icon is clicked on, the Insert Edit Image window will open on the screen. Clicking on the magnifying glass and folder icon will open the Asset Manager window. The Asset Manager window will appear on the screen. Clicking on the Drop Files here or click to Select Files box will allow you to select a file from your computer drive into the Asset Manager for upload into the BoomiFlow platform. Clicking on the file that is uploaded will show you a preview of the image. Then click on the blue Insert Asset button when the image file is selected. The image file is saved to the cloud where the BoomiFlow platform can access it for repeat use within the tenant. Enter a description for the image and then dimensions of the image for your app to render the image. Clicking on the blue OK button will insert the image into the step element. Here is the image now shown in the step element content editor. In this section, we will speak about the Insert Edit Link icon. The Insert Edit Link icon allows you to insert a hyperlink into a step element or presentation component. Clicking on the icon will open the Insert Link window. Enter a URL for the website you wish to create a hyperlink for, and the text to display is how the hyperlink will appear in your app. You can provide a title for the link and set the target to New Window, then click on the blue OK button. The hyperlink will then appear in the step element content editor. In this section, we'll speak about source code within the step element window. The source code for the step element or presentation component can be accessed within the content editor by clicking on the View drop-down and then clicking on Source Code. This is how the source code window appears on the screen. And if you notice, the code being used by the step element or presentation component in the content editor is HTML. So you are also capable of coding your step element or presentation component if you like. In this section, we will speak about how to create an iframe within BoomiFlow. An iframe can be used in BoomiFlow by creating the source code using HTML for either a step element or a presentation component. In this screen capture taken from the BoomiFlow platform, you can see that the step element content editor possesses an iframe that is a window of the BoomiFlow website. The source code shown previously is here again, but this time let's focus on this portion of the source code where the green box is. You will notice that this is the HTML code used to create the iframe in a step element or presentation component. With a few changes to the code, this could be an iframe of any website, though. In this section, we will speak about outcomes within BoomiFlow. Outcomes allow the user to move from one map element to another within the flow, or even from one map element into another flow. Outcomes from step and page elements have the ability to render as clickable buttons. Outcomes can also be created from within a step element. They can also be combined with business rules to determine the path of execution based on predetermined logic. Creating an outcome is as simple as hovering your mouse cursor over a map element like the start element. Your arrow cursor will change to a cross arrow cursor and then to a hand cursor when positioned near the middle of the map element. The map element will be outlined in green. Click on the element and then drag an arrow from that element to the element you want to connect to. In this image, you can see that the start element is being connected to a step element with a go outcome. The first outcome will never render to the user, and it will always be from a start element. But the outcome does not always need to be labeled go. Since this first outcome is coming from the start element, this outcome is never rendered to the end user, and therefore would not be a clickable button. It is simply an outcome to kick off your flow and allow your flow to be rendered as an app. As mentioned before, outcomes coming from step or page elements will render as clickable buttons. Therefore, there will be a label text box shown when creating outcomes of this kind. The label is one way to look at an outcome you're creating and know if the outcome will be rendered as a clickable button. The entry that you make in the name text box is used as an API reference. The name and label entries for an outcome can be the same or different based on your requirements. Outcomes can also be moved by dragging them to point to a different element. All of your flows will have at least one outcome. No outcome can be created that would connect a map element back to the start element. Simply stated, you can only connect the start element to other map elements. Additionally, the start element can only have one outcome. If you delete an outcome, it cannot be undone. In this section, we will speak about the publish and run actions that are performed within the Boomi Flow platform. A flow is automatically converted into an app. When you publish your flow, a snapshot is created. A snapshot is defined as a default version of your app. Also, a URL is generated that can be shared with others so that they can also access your app. The publish icon is located on the right-hand side of the screen next to the flow build canvas. Clicking on the publish icon will open the publish flow window. Here you can enter comments or notes to be used as reference to versions of your flow. This is an image of the publish flow window or dialog box. When you click on the publish button, your flow will be published as an app. The publish flow window is updated with the flow URL that can be shared with others. Here you will click on the Run button in the publish flow window to render your app. The Run icon is also located on the right-hand side of the screen next to the flow canvas and just above the publish icon. In our activities, we will publish and run when creating our flows because we want to create snapshots of our flows and have default versions of our flows created. To put it simply and in comparison to AtomSphere integration, publish is similar to deploy in AtomSphere integration and run is similar to test. You must, however, publish your flow if you wish to share it with others. If you make a change in Boomi Flow on the build canvas and do not publish your flow, the users that you share your flow with will not receive the latest version of the flow or app and therefore will not view the changes made. The following demonstration will be an activity to begin building an employee app flow using the step element. In this activity, you will learn how to insert an image, insert a link, and create an iframe. Last but not least, you will also learn how to create an outcome and then publish and run your flow so that it will render as an app. Now on the Home tab Flows page, we're going to click on the plus New Flow button. Then for the authentication, we're going to leave this blank so that we can create a publicly accessible flow. We're going to click on Continue. And then in the name text box for the new flow, we're going to enter the words Boomi Flow -employee app. And then we can click on Start Building. Then we'll expand the element toolbar on the left-hand side of the screen or the build canvas. We're going to drag a step element to the right of the start element on the build canvas. Here we can use the dotted red lines to align our step element with our start element. When you let go of the step element to the canvas, the step element window will open on the right-hand side of the screen. Then in the name text box, we're going to enter Welcome to Dell Boomi. From here, you can click on the Insert Edit Image icon. And then what we'll want to do, since we're going to insert an image into our step element, is create a folder for this image in our computer drive. So you'll just want to open your computer drive up. And then you can create a new folder on your desktop by clicking on Desktop. And then create a new folder. And we're going to name this new folder Boomi Flow Images. Now you should see your new folder created on your desktop. Then select your new folder that you've created on your desktop. Now we can see that the folder is empty. We want to return to our web browser and open a new web browser tab. And then in the search bar for Google, we're going to enter the words Dell Boomi logo. And then click on the images. And then here we can select one of the images here by clicking on it. And then we'll just want to right click on Save Image As. Then we want to open up our BoomiFlow Images folder by clicking on Desktop. Here we see our BoomiFlow Images folder. Make sure that's selected. And we're just going to name this file Dell Boomi logo. And then click on Save. Now you should be able to close your web browser, return into your platform, and click on the magnifying glass and folder icon here in the Insert Edit Image window. Then you'll want to click in the Drop Files here or click to Select Files box in the Asset Manager window. This should open up your computer drive, and here we are with our image. We can see our Dell Boomi logo image, so we're going to select that image, click on Open, and then the Dell Boomi logo has been successfully uploaded. Then we'll click on the hyperlink for the image, and here you should see a preview in the right hand corner of your Asset Manager window. Click on Insert Asset, and then we're going to name this image Dell Boomi logo here in the image description. Then for the dimensions, we're going to enter in the number 150. Depending on the image that you've selected, the dimensions will be different. It could be 45 as is shown in your activity guide, or it could be a different value based on the dimensions that are associated with your image. Then you're just going to click on OK. And then now we see the image here in our content editor window. We can click to the right of the image with our cursor. Then we'll press the Enter key. Then we just want to enter the text, "Welcome to the BoomiFlow team," with an exclamation point. We'll press Enter. Then we'll highlight the text, click on the Format dropdown, and select Blocks, Heading 2. This will change the text to a Heading 2 format. Place your cursor at the end of the line of text, and then press the Enter key. And then here you can click on the drop down for View, and view the source code for this content editor or step element. And here you can see the code that is shown is in HTML code format. You can just click on OK to close this. And we want to make sure that our cursor is down below this text here. So we're going to click on the Insert Edit Link icon. And then in the URL text box, we're going to enter https://boomi.com/platform/flow/. For the text to display, we're going to highlight the text that's been shown here and put in BoomiFlow website. And we can copy and paste that text and place it in the title text box as well. Then for the target dropdown, we want to select New Window. Then click on the OK button. And here we should see our BoomiFlow website link now shown in the content editor for our step element. We're just going to press the Enter key to drop down an additional line. Then we can click on the View dropdown again. We're going to click on Source Code. If you'd like, you can remove one of the spaces here, which is shown here, and you're going to copy and paste some text from your activity guide, which is at number 44 for this second activity. So you'll just copy and paste the text here, and that text will appear as such. Then click on the OK button. And what you'll have created is an iframe in your step element. So you'll be seeing an iframe for the BoomiFlow website here now. So then just click on the Save Step button. And then we're going to create an outcome from our start element to our Welcome to Dell Boomi step element. By hovering over the start element, you'll see that your cursor becomes a cross arrow cursor. And then as you progress towards the middle of the element, it will become a hand. You're just going to drag and drop from the start element to the step element, creating that green dotted line. When you release your click, the outcome for start will open. And here in the name text box, we're just going to enter the word Go. Click Save Outcome. Here we can see that we've created a Go outcome for our start element to our step element. And this outcome essentially just kicks off our flow and creates it as an app. So we want to click on the Publish icon here. And then the Publish Flow window will open, and we're going to enter the text here boomiflow-employee app-step element, and then click on the Publish button. And you'll see the message that your flow has been published successfully, and this URL here can be shared to share your flow. We'll just click on Run. A new browser should be created, and you should see your app running in this new browser. So here we can see the step element created for the start of our Boomi Flow app. Test to see that everything is working properly by clicking on the Flow website, and a new window should open with your Boomi Flow website opening. And if we toggle between browsers, we can see that our app is displaying the same look into the Boomi Flow website, and this is also clickable within this iframe. You can click on the browser to close it, and the additional browser, and return to the Boomi Flow platform, and then close your Publish Flow window. And then that brings us to the end of Activity 2. Now please allow yourself 20 minutes or so to complete the activity using the activity guide and referencing pages 11 through 29. In this section, we'll be speaking in more detail and depth about the page element, which is another map element that we will use to continue building the Boomi Flow employee app. First off, a page element has more capabilities than a step element, but requires more configuration. As we said before, the purpose of the page element is to mimic an HTML form, and therefore it is used to create the structure of a page that users will interact with. The page element shows users a screen. Pages are extremely extensible. The page element gives the flow builder the ability to structure and display rich content. And with page components and containers, flow builders will build their own page elements. A page element or page layout, more specifically, can be used in any flow in your tenant. Page layouts are therefore reusable and pre-populated with information once created. The components and containers of the page layout will obviously remain the same. A word of caution with regards to page layouts, though: edits to a page layout will update the page layout for the entire tenant. Saving a page layout is something we will practice often within our activities when working with the page element or page layouts. Page layouts do not save automatically, and therefore it is important, like in Atomsphere integration, to save frequently and whenever a change is made to a page layout. A page layout in Boomi Flow lets you create and structure a page or a complex form to show your users in an app. You will name your page and then select a new page layout. If it were an already created page layout that we were working with, you would select Edit Page Layout. We will discuss pages and how to develop them a little more in the next activity. You can also select a page that has already been created from the drop-down list. In this section, we'll speak about the container component and discuss how it is used to create a page layout in Boomi Flow. Containers are used to create the structure of your page layout's content. A page layout must have at least one page container. The main container is default to a page layout, and containers are used to set the relative position of page components, or in other words, like we have said before, build the structure of your page layout. As we will see later in the upcoming activity, when we embed a container inside a container, the new container is nested by default in rows. Page layouts are like scaffolding to your page layout. Page containers are therefore used to lay out the position of your page components within the page layout. The page containers are like a div tag in HTML5. They do not have any value or input, and as mentioned before, they are used to determine the layout of your page. This image is just a glimpse of how containers appear in Boomi Flow and how they appear when a container is placed inside of a container within a page layout. In this activity, we'll be working with the page element to create a flow, and we'll also be taking a look at how containers are used for building the structure of a page layout. In Activity 3 here, we're going to place a page element to the right of our Welcome to Dell Boomi step element. We can use the dotted red lines to align our elements again, and when we release this element to the canvas, the page element window is going to open on the right hand side of the screen. Here in the name text box, we can enter the words Employee App Page, and then we'll click on the plus new page layout button. Now in our page layout, you'll notice that the new page name is shown here, so we want to change that name. So we're going to click on the configuration icon here in the right hand corner. And in the name and label text boxes, we're going to put employee app page. And once we've entered that text, we're going to click on save. And you'll see that the name still hasn't changed, so for that to be committed to the system, we need to click on this disk icon to save the page layout. And now you have seen that the name has changed to our employee app page. Then we want to click on this greater than icon to expand our left-hand toolbar. And now we can see all of our various page components that we'll be working with. For this moment, we're going to be working with our containers component, so that's here with our main container. You're going to click in the main container, and then click on this green plus button. So this is creating a new container within our main container, and we're going to name this container Dell Boomi logo, and then click on the Save Container button. Anytime we make a change in a page layout so we don't lose our changes, it's recommended to click on the disk icon to save frequently. Then we're going to come back to our main container and click on the green plus button again. And this container we're going to name Employee Name, and then click on Save Container, clicking on the disk icon to save our changes. Then we're going to click in our Employee Name container and add a new container in here, so we're going to click on the green plus button. And we're going to name this container Salutation, and then click on Save Container, and then click on the disk icon to save. So as you can see, we're setting up our page layout for our page by using our containers to structure the page layout. Then we're going to click on the plus button again, and we're going to enter first name here in the name text box. Click on Save Container, click on the disk icon, and then add one more container here in our employee name container. We're going to name this last name. Click on Save Container. We can save our changes. And then we want to change the orientation of these containers that we've created, so we're going to hover over the rows drop down and then click on columns. And now you'll see that our salutation, first name, and last name are in our columns orientation. So then we're going to click on the disk icon to save. And then that brings us to the end of Activity 3. Now please take about 10 minutes to complete Activity 3 using your activity guide on pages 30 through 35. In this section, we will talk about the presentation page component that can be used when creating a page layout within the page element. The presentation component allows you to show rich text and images to users. When you drag a presentation component into the main container, for example, the container will shade purple to inform you of where you are placing the component, and then the page component window will open on the right-hand side of the screen. Notice that the configuration panel of the presentation component is very similar to that of the step element. The content text editor is used for both the presentation component and the step element. In this section, we will speak about the Insert Edit Image icon within the presentation component. The Insert Edit Image icon is located in the same place within the content editor of the presentation component as it is in the step element content editor. Clicking on the icon will open the Insert Image window, and from there, clicking on the magnifying glass and folder icon again will take you to the Asset Manager, where you are able to select a file from your computer drive, or if an image file is already being used by the tenant, you can find that image file there again as well. In this section, we will speak about the outcome appearance within BoomiFlow. When creating a new outcome from a page or step element, the outcome will render as a clickable button since the label text box is shown, and the color of that button depends upon the selection within the appearance section of the outcome. The appearance selection of Submit in this image, for what kind of action is this, will result in the button being rendered as a blue button. In this activity, we will be working with the presentation component and the employee app page layout to continue building our BoomiFlow employee app. Now, here we are on our employee app page layout, and we're going to find the presentation component here on the left-hand toolbar. We're going to click and drag and drop this into our Dell Boomi logo container. you can see that the Dell Boomi logo container is shaded purple when we have the component over it. And when you release the component into the container, the page component window for the presentation component will open on the right hand side of the screen. And we're going to enter the text Dell Boomi logo in the name text box here, and then locate the Insert Edit Image icon on the Content Editor toolbar. We're going to click on this icon, and then we can click on the magnifying glass and folder within the Insert Edit Image window that opens. And we can select the Dell Boomi logo file that we've brought into the platform previously. You'll see the preview here of the image, and then click on Insert Asset. And then for image description, we're just going to type in Dell Boomi logo here. And for the dimensions, we're going to put in 150. You'll notice because of the size of the image that I've selected that the dimensions are different than you'll see in your activity guide, but that's okay. If your dimensions are different, it's not a problem. It just is based off of the size of the image that you've selected. Click on the blue OK button. And now we see the Dell Boomi logo here in our content editor for our presentation component. We're just going to click on Save Component. And then we can click on the disk icon to save the page layout. And now here you see the presentation component with our Dell Boomi logo here. Next, we're going to click on the Boomi Flow Employee App tab. And you'll click on the refresh button here on Select Page, and you can select the Employee App page, and then click on Save Page. Now we're going to create another outcome, so we're going to hover our cursor over the Welcome to Dell Boomi step element, and then drag over to the Employee App page element. Then in the name text box, we're going to enter the word Submit. And in the label text box, we're going to enter Let's Get Started. And then if the advanced section is not open, you would just click on this icon here to open the advanced section. So that will close it and then open it. And then we're just going to click on the drop down for appearance for what kind of action is this. And we're going to scroll down and select Submit. So this will then render our label Let's Get Started as a blue button in our app. We're going to click on Save Outcome. Now you can see your Submit outcome's been created. Then we're going to click on the Publish icon. And in the Publish Flow window, we're going to enter Boomi Flow -page element -Dell Boomi logo created. And then click on the green Publish button. Now that the flow's been published successfully, we're going to click on the blue Run button. And you should see your app again open in a new browser tab. Here we have our app again, and now we have our outcome or our clickable button for Let's Get Started. So we're going to click on the button here. And now we move on to our page element. So we can see that our presentation component is showing the Dell Boomi logo here. So the app is working properly so far. We're just going to close out of this browser tab and return back to the Boomi Flow platform. Then we're going to close this Publish Flow window. And here we are back on our Boomi Flow build canvas. And then that brings us to the end of Activity 4. Now you may take about 10 minutes to complete Activity 4 using pages 36 through 42 in your activity guide. In this section, we'll speak about the input component, which is another page component that is often used in Boomi Flow. The input component is used to get input or information from a user, which in turn creates data to be used or stored within Boomi Flow or for third-party services that the flow may be utilizing. The accepted input values are text, Boolean values, date, password, number, string, list, object, and encrypted. Placing an input component found on the left-hand toolbar of the page layout screen within a container opens the page component window on the right-hand side of the screen. The input component can then be configured for the page layout. In this section, we will speak about values and types and their importance within Boomi Flow. Pages, values, and types can all be reused in multiple flows within a tenant. Values are similar to variables in programming paradigm, and system values cannot be edited and are prefixed with a $sign. Types are similar to an interface in programming terms, or a blueprint and create representations of real-world objects. Every value in BoomiFlow is associated with a primitive content type, known as a kind, in the BoomiFlow platform. The kind of values that can be chosen are a Boolean value, which can be used to test for a yes or no outcome in a flow. You would use this to flag specific outcomes if a condition is met. Content is rich text that supports formatting. Datetime is used to store datetime in your flows. A list is a list of objects. We can use this when we do not know how many of a certain type of value there will be. Another example of a list could be a pick list of salutations, such as Mr., Mrs., or Miss. Number values can be used to store positive or negative numbers, as well as decimals. Object values are similar to lists and must also have a type associated with them. An object allows us to store more complex data as defined by the type. For example, an object can store all of the properties of a lead, contact, or account, and therefore an object is an instance of a type. Password can store any UTF-8 characters. This is used to store passwords and sensitive content that you do not want other builders to see. Passwords are automatically masked and are not served in BoomiFlow. String values store unformatted UTF-8 characters, and encrypted values are used to store content that needs to be encrypted, like credit card information or medical records. Similar to passwords, encrypted values are also not served in BoomiFlow. BoomiFlow uses PCI-compliant encryption and is compliant with HIPAA security requirements for storing health records. System values, as mentioned before, are prefixed with a $sign. BoomiFlow comes with 44 system values that are assigned dynamically by the BoomiFlow engine during runtime and include values that store flow state information, values that store user information, and 2 Boolean values that contain the Boolean true and false respectively as data. System values cannot be edited by builders, but can be referenced from within a flow. Values can be created in 2 ways. They can either be created by clicking on values on the left-hand toolbar when on the Home tab, or new values can be created when clicking on Select or Create a New Value when building your flow. If we create a value in one flow, reuse it in another flow, and edit the value in that flow, the value gets updated for that flow and the original flow where the value was initially created. Subsequent flows in the tenant that reference that value will be using the updated value. However, if we do not want a value to be changed, we can tick the box that says "Do not allow changes to this value" while creating the value. Deleting a value deletes it not just for a particular flow, but for the entire tenant. If you try to delete a value that is referenced in another flow, you will get the error message "Element cannot be deleted due to dependencies." If we create a value and subsequently decide to remove it from a flow, the value is not deleted, but continues to exist in the tenant. The data contained in a value can be edited or deleted during runtime. Types are essentially containers that have a name and contain data. In programming terms, a type is a type or an interface. Types can have properties. Therefore, instead of creating hundreds of values, for example, we can define a custom type with multiple properties and create values that are of this custom type. This not only reduces time and effort, but makes app design and implementation exponentially simpler. There are 9 unique content types for a property within a type. You cannot create a type without a valid property. As mentioned previously, types can be thought of as a blueprint and create representations of real-world objects. For example, let's say we wanted to create a type called employee, and then had first name for property 1, then last name for property 2, phone, email, and job title for each property thereafter. This would be our employee type then. In this hypothetical we are discussing at this time, currently we now have a type employee with 5 properties. So rather than creating an employee first name value, employee last name value, and so on, we can simply create something like an employee get details value of type employee. The new value employee get details would have all of the properties we just spoke about associated with it because of our employee type. In this activity, you will learn more about the input component and how to create values in BoomiFlow. Now, within the BoomiFlow platform, we can double-click on the Employee App page or click on the tab for the Employee App page to open it again. I'm just going to double click on it here, and you'll see this employee app page opening. So we're going to click on Edit Page Layout here. Then we'll locate the input component on the left-hand toolbar. We're going to drag this input component and place it into the first name container. You'll see that the first name is shaded purple, so we know we're placing our input component in the proper container here. Then when we release the component into the container, the page component window opens on the right-hand side of the screen. And here we're going to enter the text first name in the name and label text boxes. And then we're going to tick the box for required. And then we can click on the select or create a new value button. And we're going to click on create a new value. If you'll take notice here, you can see some of the system values that come with your BoomiFlow account. We're going to click on create a new value. And then we're going to enter first name in the name text box here. We'll leave this as the kind of value as a string, and we're just going to click on save. So we have our first name string value shown here for save the selection made by the user to. And then we're going to click on save component. And we can see our input component here. We're going to click on the disk icon to save our changes to the page layout. Then next we're going to find another input component, and we're going to place this into our last name container. And we're going to enter the text last name for the name and label text boxes. And again, tick the box for required. And then clicking on the select or create a new value button. We're going to create a new value again. Here you can see that our first name value that we created is now shown here. And we're going to enter last name in the name text box. And then we're going to click on save. Then we can click on save component. And we can click on the disk icon to save. Then we just want to click on the BoomiFlow Employee App tab here at the top of the screen to return to our flow canvas. We're going to click on Save Page. And then we're going to click on the Publish icon. And then in the Publish Flow window, we're going to enter the text BoomiFlow -page element -first/ last name added. And then click on the green Publish button. Now our flow's been published successfully. We can click on Run. And again, we see our app opening in a new browser tab. We can click on the Let's Get Started button. And now we can see that we have our input components on our page layout. And I'm just going to type my name in here to show that they're working properly. So you can see that I've entered my name. So the input components are working properly. We can just close this tab to return to the Publish Flow window and our BoomiFlow canvas. And we can close this window. And that brings us to the end of Activity 5. Now please take approximately 10 minutes to complete Activity 5 using pages 43 through 47 in your activity guide. In this section, we will speak about the combo box component and how it can be utilized in BoomiFlow. The combo box component shows users a pick list of items such as clothing, size, zip codes, or salutation, for example. The user selection is saved to a value. Combo box components can be single select or multi-select, and this component is based on React selectize, which is a stateless select component for React. The combo box is located on the left-hand toolbar on the page layout screen, within the input section. Clicking on it and dragging it to a container will open the page component window for the combo box component. Here you are able to enter the necessary details, types, and values to create the combo box component. In this activity, I will demonstrate to you how to create a combo box or pick list, as it is also known in BoomiFlow. Here we are on the BoomiFlow build canvas. We're going to click on the Employee App Page tab to return to our page layout. And then here we're going to find the combo box component. We're going to click on the combo box and drag it to place it into our salutation container. Then we're going to enter the text salutation in the name and label text boxes, and then tick the box for required. Then we're going to have to create a type. So to do that, we're going to click on the Home tab, click on types. You can see our flow here in our flows page. You can see our system types here, where we're going to create a new type, so we're going to click on new type here. We're going to name this new type salutation, and we're going to click on new property. Then we're going to enter the word salutations in the name text box here. And then from the drop down, we're going to select string. Then we can click on apply property. And now we have our salutation type created. Now we're going to click on save type. And you can see our salutation type here now. Then we're going to return to the employee app page. And now we're going to click on select a type. And here we're going to select our salutation type that we just created. And now we're going to click on the radio button for get the data from a list value. So we're going to create a value here. So we're going to select or create a new value. And then create a new value. And then we're going to name this salutation list. And this is going to stay as a list value here. We're going to click on this plus button. And here in this first text box, we're going to enter the word Mr. And then clicking the plus button again, we're going to enter Mrs. Clicking the plus button again, we're going to enter Miss. And now we have our 3 choices for salutation. We're going to click on save. And then we're going to click on this select or create a new value button here. And create a new value. And we're going to call this our salutation selection. So when the user makes a salutation selection, this is the object that'll be saved to the tenant. We're going to click on save. And then click on add column. Here we're going to click on the drop down and select salutations. Then click on apply column. And we can see our data presentation is now selected. We're going to click on save component. And then we can click on the disk icon to save our changes. And then we're going to click on the Boomi Flow Employee App tab to return to our build canvas. And here we're going to click on the publish icon again. Then in the text box here, we're going to enter Boomi Flow -page element -salutation combo box. Then we'll click on the green publish button. The flow's been published successfully, so we can run our flow. And we see our app opening in a new tab. Then we can click on Let's Get Started. And then here we have our salutation combo box. We can click on the drop down. And you can see that we have Mr., Mrs., and Miss that we can select. So I'm just going to select Mr. for myself. And then I'm going to make sure the input components are still working properly. So I've entered my name in the input components and everything's working properly in my app still. So we can close the app, return to the flow canvas by closing out of the publish flow window. And that brings us to the end of activity 6. Now you can take roughly 10 minutes to complete activity 6 using your activity guide and referencing pages 48 through 55. In this section, we will speak about the attributes and help sections within the input page component. Attributes can be found within the page component window for various components. In the upcoming activity, we will be looking at attributes within an input component. Clicking on the plus new attribute button will open the attribute window where the key for the attribute and value for the attribute will be entered to create the new attribute. This is a list of the input component attributes that currently exist within Boomi Flow. In the activity that follows, we'll be taking a look at using an attribute of the key mask to create a phone number input component. The help section within a page component, such as the input component, allows you to create a value to help the user. In the upcoming activity, you will learn how to create a help value for the email input component you are about to create. Entering text within the upper text box will appear in the input component in your app, and text entered in the lower text box will appear below the input component in your app. In the following activity, I will demonstrate how to create input components utilizing the attributes and help sections within the input components. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, we're going to click on the Employee App Page tab to return to our page layout. Then click in the main container here. This will reveal the settings, and we're going to add a new container, so we're going to click on the green button here. And then we're going to name this new container contact information, so we're going to enter contact information here in the name text box, and then click on Save Container. And then we see that we have our new container, so we're going to click on the disk icon to save our changes. Then we want to click in the contact information container, and we see our settings here, so we're going to add another container within this container. And we're going to name this container phone. Click on Save Container, and then add another container. We're going to name this container email. Clicking on Save Container, and then we can save our changes by clicking on the disk icon. And if we hover over the drop down for rows, we're going to change the orientation of our containers to columns. And again, we can click on the disk icon to save our changes. Then we're going to locate the input component on the left hand toolbar again, and we're going to place an input component in our phone container. We can see that the phone container is shaded purple, so we're going to let that go here. And then in the name and label text boxes, we're going to enter the word phone, and then tick the box for required. And then we're going to click on select or create a new value. And we're going to click on create a new value. And then in the name text box, we're going to enter the word phone, and then click on save. And then next we're going to click on plus new attribute. And then here in the key for the attribute, we're going to enter the word mask. So then within the value for the attribute text box, we're going to enter a standard US phone number format. And by doing that, we're going to enter a parenthesis, then the digit 111, close the parentheses, space 111, space hyphen, space 1111. And I'll enter that now to show you. So the digits that you should enter should look like this in this text box, and then we'll click on Apply Attribute. And then we can save the component. And now we see our phone input. We can click on the disk icon to save the changes that we've made. Then we're going to drag another input component, placing it in our email container. And we're going to name this email. In the name and label text boxes, tick the box for required, and then click on select or create a new value. We're going to click on create a new value. Then we're going to enter email in the name text box. Click on save. Then we can click in the help section, and we're going to click in the hint value to help the user text box. And here we're going to enter example@email.com. So when the user is viewing the app, they'll have this hint for how they should compose their email entry. We can click on Save Component, and then click on the disk icon to save. And now you can see how our contact information container should look with our phone and email containers and input components. Then we're going to click on the Flow tab to return to the build canvas. Click on the Publish icon, and in the text box we're going to enter Boomi Flow -page element -contact information added, and then we can click on the green Publish button. So our flow's been published successfully, so we can click on Run, and then the app should open in another browser tab. We can click on Let's Get Started, and here we can see our new components that we've created for phone and email. So we can try just entering a number here to make sure that the input components are working properly. And you can see that if I just enter 3s, the number is shown here in the format for a phone. And here I could enter an email. So we can see that everything is working properly. The salutation also is working. And if I wanted to check that the inputs for my first name and last name are still working correctly, we can now see that all of our components are working properly in our app, and our page is starting to come together with the layout that we've been building. So now everything's working correctly. We're going to close out of this to return to the platform. And then we can close our Publish Flow window. And now we're back on the Boomi Flow build canvas. And that brings us to the end of Activity 7. Now you may take approximately 10 minutes to complete Activity 7 using your activity guide and referencing pages 56 through 60. In this section, we will speak about the radio component. To simply put it, the radio component allows you to create a mutually exclusive list selection. The radio component allows you to select one property of a type, or you are able to make the component multi-select so more than one property of a type can be selected. The radio component is again located on this left-hand toolbar on the page layout screen in the input section of Page Components. When you drag and drop the component into a container, the Page Component window for the radio component will open on the right-hand side of the screen. Here you will set the type and values for the component. In this section, we will speak about the checkbox page component. The checkbox component allows you to collect a Boolean yes or no response from a user when the user ticks or unticks a box. The checkbox component can again be found on the left-hand toolbar of the page layout screen within the Input section. Dragging and dropping the component into a container will open the Page Component window for the checkbox component, where the configuration details and Boolean value for the checkbox will be entered. In this section, we will speak about the page conditions that can be created in Boomi Flow. Page conditions are used to conditionally vary the page component that is shown to the user of your app. They create a dynamic and unique experience for your users. Some examples of page conditions and the options for these page conditions are shown here. The two types of page conditions are Boolean and scalar. In the upcoming activity, we will be using a Boolean page condition. Options are that of visible, editable, and required. Also in the upcoming activity, we will demonstrate how the visible option works. The image here is that of a page condition that utilizes a Boolean condition and the visible option. The page condition or basic condition icon is located on the right-hand side of the page layout screen and looks like a box with a check mark. Once the basic condition icon has been selected, the basic conditions window opens on the right-hand side of the screen. Here you will select the component that you want to build a condition for. In the image, the toggle component is being selected. To continue with the process of creating the basic condition, next you will make a selection for when the value of toggle this is true or is false from the drop-down. In this demonstration, the selection is true is being made. Now for the drop-down for then make, the selection for the Now You See Me presentation component is being made. In the final drop-down to the right of the Now You See Me selection, the selection of visible would be made so that the smiley face presentation component would be visible when the toggle button was clicked on in the app. In this activity, I will demonstrate how to add a radio component and checkbox component along with a page condition to the Employee App page. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, we're going to click on the Employee App page tab to open up our page layout again. And we're going to click in the main container and then select the green plus button to add a new container. And then this new container, we're going to name this office location / work phone. And we're going to click on Save Container. Now we see our new container created, so we're going to click on the disk icon to save our changes. Then we're going to click within the office location work phone container. Click on the green plus button. And in the name text box for this new container, we're going to put in office location. And then we're going to click on Save Container. And then we can click on the disk icon to make a save to our changes. Then we're going to click on the green plus button again to add another container here. And we're going to name this container Work Phone. And then click on Save Container. Click on the disk icon to save our changes again. Then we can hover over the rows drop down and click on columns. So now we see our office location and work phone containers side by side. Then we're going to find the radio component here on the left-hand toolbar. So we're going to hover over that and we're going to click and drag and drop the radio component into our office location container. And then in the name and label text boxes, we're going to enter office location here and then tick the box for required. And now we're going to have to create a type again, so we're going to click on the Home tab here. And we still have our type screen up from before. We're going to click on New Type. And here in the name text box, we're going to enter the text Office, and then click on New Property. And here we're going to enter the text location, and then the kind of property it's going to be a string. Then we'll click on Apply Property. And now we have our new office type. We're going to click on Save Type. And now we'll see our new office type here. So we can return to our page layout. And then we're going to select a type. Here we're going to select our office type. And then we want to get the data from a list value. So we're going to click on this radio button. And then click on Select or Create a New Value. We're going to create a new value, and then we're going to enter the text Office List, so just add the word list here. And now we have our value being a list, and of the type value Office. And we just want to click on the blue plus button, and we're going to enter the text Remote here. Click on the blue plus button again, and we're going to enter Chesterbrook, parenthesis HQ, close the parentheses. Click on the plus button again, enter San Francisco, click on the plus button again, and enter Austin. And now we can click on Save. And then we're going to click on Select or Create a New Value here in the State section. Click on Create a New Value. And we're going to call this our Office Selection. We can leave the value as an object, and the type of value is going to be our office type. So we're going to click on Save. Now we want to click on Add Column, and then the property to use for this column, we're going to click on the drop down, select Location, and then apply the column. And then we're going to click on Save Component. And you can see here that we've created our radio button for our office location now. So we're going to click on Save. Now we're going to locate the checkbox component and drag that and place it into our work phone container. And then here in the name and label text boxes, we're going to enter work phone and tick the box for required. And then we're going to click on Select or Create a New Value. And then we're going to click on Create a New Value. We're going to enter the text work phone here, and this is going to be a Boolean value, and we're going to click on Save. So you now see our work phone Boolean value here, and we can save the component. And then we're going to click on the disk to save our page layout. Then we're going to place a combo box component in the work phone container below the checkbox that we've already placed there. Here you can see the purple shading and the arrow pointing to where we're placing this combo box component. And then here we're going to enter the name phone brand in the name and label text boxes, and then click on Required. And then next we'll have to create a type again, so we're going to click on Home, click on New Type, and here we're going to enter the text work phone, and then click New Property, and then we're going to enter the word brand. This is going to be a string. Then we'll click on Apply Property. And now we have our new work phone type created. We're going to click on Save Type. And you see our new type here. Then we can click on the Employee App page to go back to our page layout. We're going to click on Select a Type. And here we're going to select our work phone type. And then we're going to click the radio button for Get the Data from a List Value. And then click on Select or Create a New Value. We're going to create a new value. And we're going to call this Work Phone List. And then to create this data, again, we're going to click on the blue plus button. Enter brand 1 here. Enter brand 2. Click on the plus button again. Enter brand 3. And then click on Save. And then we're going to click on Select or Create a New Value here. Then click on Create a New Value. And we're going to call this our work phone selection. Click on Save. And then we're just going to click on Add Column. we want to select from the drop down brand and then click on apply column. And then here we can see all of our selections, and then we're going to click on save component. And now you see our checkbox for work phone and our phone brand combo box that we've just created. We're going to click on the disk icon to save. Then we're going to click on the basic condition icon here. And we're going to build the basic conditions. So from this drop down, we're going to select work phone. And then when the value of work phone, which is our checkbox, is ticked, we're going to select true. Then we're going to make the phone brand combo box. So we want to click on phone brand. We're going to make it visible by clicking on visible from the drop down. And then we're just going to save the basic condition. And you'll see the message that the page condition was saved successfully. Then we're going to click on the disk icon to save our changes again. And then we can come over to the Boomi Flow Employee tab and go back to the build canvas. We're going to click on the publish icon. And here we're going to enter Boomi Flow -page element -radio, checkbox, page condition. And then we're going to click on the green publish button. And then we can run our flow. So we see our app coming up, and we can click on Let's Get Started. So here we can see that our app is being shown again. We know that our combo boxes and input components are working properly. So let's just look here at the new components that we created with the radio button. So if I would select remote, we see that it's working properly. If I change my selection, again, things are working properly. And then if I tick the box for work phone, we now see our phone brand combo box. So I can make a selection here. And you'll notice that if I untick the box, the phone brand selection disappears. So everything's working properly in our app. For now, we can close the app and return back to the Boomi Flow canvas. Close out of the Publish Flow window. And that brings us to the end of Activity 8. Now you can take about 20 minutes to complete Activity 8 using your activity guide and referencing pages 61 through 70. In this section, we will speak about the toggle component and how it can be used within Boomi Flow. The toggle component is used to create a toggle button or switch that essentially can toggle between enabled or disabled or true or false. The selection made by the user of true or false can be saved in a Boolean value. The attributes for the toggle component are also shown here. We will discuss these attributes and how they can be set more in later trainings. The toggle component can be found on the left-hand toolbar of the page layout within the input section. Dragging this component to a container will open the page component window for the toggle component, where the configuration settings for the component can be entered. You can also see here a sneak preview of how the toggle component, once created, will appear in a page layout. In this activity, I will demonstrate how to create a toggle component and also go through the steps of creating a new page condition. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, we're going to click on the Employee App Page tab to go back to the page layout. And then if necessary, we can scroll back up to our main container. We're going to click here in the main container, and we're going to add another container. And here we're going to enter the text company car, and then save the container. And then if we scroll down, we can see our new container. We're going to save that by clicking on the disk icon. And then we're going to find the toggle component. We're going to place a toggle component in the company car container. And we're going to name this toggle. And then in the label text box, we're going to enter, would you like a company car, ? So this will be shown to the user. We'll make this required. And then we'll click on select or create a new value. We're going to create a new value. Here we're going to enter the text company car, and we're going to make this a Boolean value. We're going to click on save, and then we can save this component. And if I scroll down, you can see the toggle component now. So I'm going to click on the disk icon to save the page layout. And then I'm going to place a combo box under my toggle component in the company car container. So here in the name and label text boxes, I'm going to enter the words company car, and I'll make this required. And then I'm going to click on the Home tab to go create a type. So I'm going to click on New Type. And here I'm going to call this company car again. Then I'll click on New Property. And I'm going to name this brand. This is going to be a string. And then I'll click Apply Property. And then we're just going to save the type. And here we can see our new type created. Then I'm going to return to the page layout where I can select a type. That's going to be my company car type. And then I'll say get the data from a list value by clicking on the radio button here. Then I'm going to select or create a new value. Here I'll create a new value. And this is going to be my company car list value. Click on the plus button. And we're going to enter brand 1. And then click on the plus button again. And I'll enter brand 2. Then click on save. And then I'll click on select or create a new value. And create a new value. This is going to be my company car selection. Click on save. And then to make this visible to the user, I'm going to click on Add Column. And then select Brand from the drop down here. Click on Apply Column. And then save the component. And then here we can see our toggle component and company car combo box. I'm going to save this page layout change by clicking on the disk icon here. And then I'm going to click on Basic Conditions. And we're going to make a basic condition. So from this drop down, I'm going to select the toggle component. And then when the value of the toggle component is true, I want to make the company car combo box present. So I'm going to click on company car combo box here. And I want to make that visible, so I'm going to select visible from this drop down. And now I can click on Save the Basic Condition. So that's been saved successfully. Then I'll click on the disk icon to save my changes. And if you want to review where your basic conditions are, you can look at complex conditions here. And this will show you where the basic conditions are that you've created so far. Then I'm going to click on the Flow tab to return to the build canvas. And here I'm going to click on the Publish icon. And then in this text box I'm going to enter BoomiFlow-employee app-toggle component. And then click on Publish. So the flow has been published successfully. Then I can click on Run. And then we're going to click on Let's Get Started. And here we are back in our page layout for our app. So if I click on this toggle button, we can see the drop down appears. So we have our combo box where we can select our brand. And if I deselect the toggle button, then the company car combo box should disappear. So let's try that. And then if I click on it again, we now have this option that reappears. So everything's working properly with our page conditions that we've created and our toggle component and our combo box. We can close our app, return to the platform, and then close out the Publish Flow window. And then that brings us to the end of Activity 9. Now you may take approximately 10 minutes to complete Activity 9 using your activity guide and referencing pages 71 through 75. In this activity, I will demonstrate creating another container that will contain a unique PIN input component and two checkbox components for a corporate credit card and seat assignment sections of the BoomiFlow employee app. Now on the BoomiFlow build canvas, I'm going to click on the employee app page to return to our page layout, and then I'll scroll back up and click in the main container, and then click on the green plus sign. And here I'm going to enter the text PIN /corporate card /seat assignment in the name text box, and then I'll click on Save Container. can scroll down and see that the container has been created, so I'm going to click on the disk icon to save the changes. Then I'll take an input component and place it in the new container. And here I'm going to enter the text, please enter a unique PIN in the name and label text boxes. And then I'll tick the box for required. Then I'm going to click on select or create a new value. And I'll be creating a new value here. And in the value name text box, I'm going to enter unique PIN. And this will be a string value, so I'm going to click on save. And then I can save the component. And if we scroll down, we can see our new input component. Then I can click on the disk icon to save. And then next I will place a checkbox component below the unique PIN input component. And in the name and label text boxes, I'm going to enter corporate credit card. And then I'll click on select or create a new value. And I'm going to create a new value. This is going to be called corporate credit card. It's going to remain a Boolean value, and I'm going to click save. And then save the component. Then click on the disk icon to save the page. And then I'm going to place another checkbox below the checkbox component that we just made for a credit card. And I'll name this checkbox component seat assignment. And then I'm going to click on select or create a new value. I'll create a new value here. This again is going to be a Boolean value. This time it's going to be called seat assignment. Then I'll click on save and then save the component. So we can see the components that we've created in our PIN, corporate credit card, and seat assignment container. We're going to click on the disk icon to save. Then we can click on the Boomi Flow tab to return to the build canvas. We're going to click on the publish icon. And here we're going to enter Boomi Flow -page element -pin / corporate card / seat assignment. And then I'll click on the green publish button. And then I can run the flow. We're going to click on let's get started. And then here you can see that we have our input for a PIN. So I could place a number here. And the checkboxes are working properly. All of our new components are working properly. Then we want to just close out of the app and then close out of our publish flow window. And that brings us to the end of activity 10. Now take approximately 10 minutes to complete activity 10 using your activity guide and referencing pages 76 through 79. In this activity, I will demonstrate creating another container that will contain a unique PIN input component and two checkbox components for a corporate credit card and seat assignment sections of the Boomi Flow employee app. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, I'm going to click on the employee app page to return to our page layout, and then I'll scroll back up and click in the main container, and then click on the green plus sign. And here I'm going to enter the text PIN / corporate card / seat assignment in the name text box. And then I'll click on Save Container. I can scroll down and see that the container has been created, so I'm going to click on the disk icon to save the changes. Then I'll take an input component and place it in the new container. And here I'm going to enter the text, please enter a unique PIN in the name and label text boxes. And then I'll tick the box for required. And I'm going to click on select or create a new value. And I'll be creating a new value here. And in the value name text box, I'm going to enter unique PIN. And this will be a string value, so I'm going to click on save. And then I can save the component. And if we scroll down, we can see our new input component. Then I can click on the disk icon to save. And then next I will place a checkbox component below the unique PIN input component. And in the name and label text boxes, I'm going to enter corporate credit card. And then I'll click on select or create a new value. And I'm going to create a new value. This is going to be called corporate credit card. It's going to remain a Boolean value, and I'm going to click save. and then save the component. Then click on the disk icon to save the page. And then I'm going to place another checkbox below the checkbox component that we just made for a credit card. And I'll name this checkbox component seat assignment. And then I'm going to click on select or create a new value. I'll create a new value here. This again is going to be a Boolean value. This time it's going to be called seat assignment. Then I'll click on save and then save the component. So we can see the components that we've created in our PIN, corporate credit card, and seat assignment container. We're going to click on the disk icon to save. Then we can click on the Boomi Flow tab to return to the build canvas. We're going to click on the publish icon. And here we're going to enter Boomi Flow -page element -pin / corporate card / seat assignment. And then I'll click on the green publish button. And then I can run the flow. We're going to click on Let's Get Started. And then here you can see that we have our input for a PIN. So I could place a number here, and the checkboxes are working properly. All of our new components are working properly. Then we want to just close out of the app, and then close out of our Publish Flow window. And that brings us to the end of Activity 10. Now take approximately 10 minutes to complete Activity 10 using your activity guide and referencing pages 76 through 79. In this section, we will speak about the operator element and how it can be used in Boomi Flow. The operator element allows you to change the state of a value. Changing the state of a string value is accomplished by concatenating values, emptying a value, or setting a value equal to another value. In this image, the unique ID value is going to be set equal to a value. This value can be selected from already created values, or it can be a newly created value. In the final image shown here, we see how the configured operation will appear in Boomi Flow when the unique ID string value is set equal to the last name string value. In this activity, I will demonstrate how to create operations in Boomi Flow using the operator element. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, I'm going to locate the operator element, and we're going to place this next to our employee app page element. So I'm going to drag it to the canvas here, and using the dotted red lines, I can line it up with the page element. And then we can see the operator element windows open, so I'm going to enter the text generate unique ID in this name text box. And then I will click on the green new operation button. Then I'm going to click on select or create a new value. And I'm going to create a new value. And I'm going to name this unique ID. And this is going to be a string value. Then click on save. Then from this drop down for how do you want to change the value, I'm going to select set equal to. And then for how do you want to retrieve the reference value, I'm just going to select value of. And we're going to put the last name value here, so we're going to select or create a new value. And we can see our last name value that we created. We're going to select that. And then we can click on apply operation. Then I'm going to do another operation, so I'm going to click on new operation again. Click on select or create a new value. And this time I'm going to select the unique ID string that I created. So if I come down here, we can see the unique ID string. For how do you want to change the value, I'm going to select concatenate and value of. And then we're going to select a value here for select or create a new value. I'm going to be selecting my unique PIN string value. And then I'm going to apply the operation. Now we see our two operations that we've created. We have our unique ID set equal to a value of last name, and the unique ID to concatenate value of unique PIN. So we're going to click on Save Operator. And then we can hover over the page element, and we're going to create an outcome by clicking and dragging over to the Generate Unique ID operator. Then when the outcome window opens, we're going to type in Submit in the name and label text boxes. And if you recall from some of the other training information that we've spoken about, the label is what will appear to the user. Then we're going to come down to Appearance, and we want to select for what kind of action is this. We're going to select Submit from the drop-down. And then we're going to click on Save Outcome. And this is how our flow should look at this time. Then I'm going to take a step element and drag it to the canvas and place it to the right of the Generate Unique ID operator. And here in the name text box, I'm going to enter the words thank you. And then in the content editor, I'm going to enter thank you for using our employee app, : Then I'll press the space bar, and I'm going to click on Insert Value. And I want to select the first name value that we created earlier. So this will reference the first name that the user inputs in the page layout. Then I'm going to put a space and insert another value. And this time I'm going to select the last name string. We're going to press the return or enter key to drop down a line. And then we're going to enter the information phone, email, office location, work phone, company car, unique PIN, and please use your unique ID. So once we've entered all of that information, then we're going to insert a value for each item. So for the phone, we can place our cursor here, and we're going to insert our phone value. So if we want, we can use the search bar here. So I'm going to type in phone to search for that value. And here we see our phone string, so I'm going to select that. Then I'll drop down to the email, and I'll insert the email value. Here we have our email string value. And then our office location, we're going to insert that value. We want to make sure that we select our office selection location value. Then come to work phone, insert the value. We're going to select our work phone selection. Then company car. And I'm going to again select company car selection. Then unique PIN. So we want to select our unique PIN string. And then for please use your unique ID, we're just going to find the unique ID. And then I'm going to add some more text after the unique ID value as reference to check the status of your request. Create a new line, have a great day, ! Then we can click on Save Step and hover over the operator element and create an outcome to our step element that we just created. Here we're just going to enter the word submit in the name text box, and then we can click on Save Outcome. And then we're going to click on the publish icon. Here we can enter a comment, Boomi flow -thank you -step element, and then click on publish. And since the flow's been published successfully, now we can click on run. And then we're going to click on let's get started in our app. So here we're going to enter some information, making the selections that you'll also see in your activity guide. And then I'm going to submit my form here. And then we can see all the information that we provided in our page element and our page layout, and we've received all of our information back to us. My first, last name, phone number, email, my office location selection, my work phone selection, my company car selection, my unique PIN, and we've created a unique ID using our operator element. So everything's working properly in our app. We can close out of our app to return back to BoomiFlow, and then close the Publish Flow window, and then that brings us to the end of Activity 11. Now, please take approximately 20 minutes to complete Activity 11 using your activity guide and referencing pages 80 through 86. In this section, we will speak about the decision element and how it is used in BoomiFlow. The decision element allows the user to route flows via different execution paths depending on a set of conditions. The image shown is a decision created using business rules for verifying if a corporate credit card checkbox is selected by the user. If the checkbox is ticked, then the user will receive an email message regarding their corporate credit card. If the checkbox is not ticked, the flow would not proceed past this outcome. This is just one example of how a decision element can be used within BoomiFlow. In this section, we will speak about business rules and how they are used within BoomiFlow. Business rules in BoomiFlow are a representation of real-world business rules, policies, or logic. The decision element uses business rules to evaluate the path of the workflow. An app can be set up to show different screens to the user based on an if-then conditional within the application. In programming paradigm, business rules are similar to a switch statement and can be nested. In this section, we will speak about an email service integration that is able to be created within BoomiFlow. An email service is utilized by Flow to send emails using a third-party service for messaging. Like all service integrations within Flow, the email service is required to be configured within your tenant. The email service we can create in Flow will work with major email providers like Gmail or Microsoft Exchange. In this section, we will speak about the message element and how it can be used in BoomiFlow. The message element is able to send requests to third-party service providers like Gmail, Microsoft Exchange, Box, or Twilio. It is used to configure both incoming and outgoing messages. Message actions define the interface of inputs or outputs for calling against each service. And message elements automatically populate a list of possible message actions. In this activity, I will demonstrate how to create and configure decision and message elements and the email service for the BoomiFlow employee app. Now on the BoomiFlow build canvas, we're going to click on the submit outcome here. And when we do that, we should see a bright green box. And if we press the delete key on our keyboard, we're going to delete this outcome. So just click on the red delete button. And then I'm just going to move this thank you step element out of the way. And next, I'm going to bring a decision element to the canvas to the right of our operator. And then in the name text box, we're going to enter the text check corporate credit card ? And then we're going to click on save decision. Then we're going to locate the message element and place it below our decision element. And in the name text box here, we're going to enter the text send email to requester : corporate credit card. And then we can click on save message. Then I'm going to hover over the generate unique ID operator element and create an outcome to my decision element. So I'm going to enter the text corporate credit card ? And then click on save outcome. Then I'm going to click on the home tab to return to our home tab, and we're going to create a service. So here you'll see the services icon. We're going to click on that. And we're going to create an email service here. So we're going to click on install service. In the name text box, I'm going to enter the information Gmail service : boomiflowtraining@gmail.com. And then in the URL for the service, I'm going to enter https://services-manywho.com/API/email/1. And then once I've entered that URL here, I'm going to click on the continue button. And now I'm going to create some values for my email service. First, I'm going to click on the select or create a new value for the password. And we're going to create a new value. And so this is going to be a Gmail service, and we're going to say boomiflowtraining@gmail.com : I'm going to put password here. And then in the default value text box, I'm going to enter capital B OOMI, capital F LOW1. So that's the password to access the Boomi Flow Training Gmail account. Then I'm going to click on Save. And then next, I'm going to click on Select or Create a New Value for Port. And then create a new value here. And I'm just going to place the word port here at the end of this name. And then in the default value box, I'm going to put the number 587. Click on Save. And then next I will click on Select or Create a New Value for Host. And we're going to create a new value. And I'm going to name this with the host. And in the default value, I'm going to put in smtp.gmail.com. And then click on Save. Then I'm going to click on Select or Create a New Value for Transport. And then click on Create a New Value. And I'm going to name this Transport. And then in the default value text box, I'm going to enter the letters TLS. And then click on Save. And then last, I'm going to click on Select or Create a New Value for Username. And then create a new value. Here I'm going to put username. And then in the default value text box, I'm just going to enter boomiflowtraining@gmail.com. And then click on Save. So now that we've entered our password, port, host, transport, and username, we're finished setting up our email service. All we need to do is click on Continue. And here we can see the service has been installed successfully. So we can click on Back to Services. And then here you can see the service is now installed here. So we're going to click on our Boomi Flow Employee App tab to return to the canvas. And now that that service is associated with our tenant, we just need to bring it into our flow. So we're going to click on the Shared Elements icon. And then here we're going to click on Services. And we don't see any services associated with our flow right now, so we're going to click on Import Existing. And we're going to import this Gmail service. So now when I click on Services, I now have my Gmail service associated with my flow. So everything here is set up with our shared elements. So we're going to close. Now I'm going to open the Send Email to Requester message element for the corporate credit card here. I'm going to do that by double clicking on it. And then I'm going to click on plus new message action. For this drop down, I'm going to select the Gmail service. Then we're going to select a Send Email Simple. Then I'm going to click on Select or Create a New Value for the body. And then I'm going to create a new value here. So in the name text box, I'm going to enter Send Email to Requester, corporate credit card, body. And then we're going to leave this value as a content value. Then in the default text box, I'm going to enter the word hello, space, and then insert a value. And here I want to insert our first name string value. And then place a comma after that. And then use the return or enter key to drop down a line. And I'm going to enter your request for a corporate credit card has been successfully submitted, period. Please allow 7 to 10 business days for your card to arrive. And then after entering that, I'm going to drop down another line and enter the text, please use your unique ID, colon, and then I'm going to insert a value. So this is going to be the unique ID, so I'm going to search for ID. Here we have our unique ID string. I'm going to press the space bar and then enter as reference to check the status of your request. Come down another line, enter thank you, comma, and then Dell Boomi. And then we can click on save. So there we've just created the body of our email. Next, we'll click on the select or create a new value for from. Here we're going to select our boomiflowtraining@gmail.com username. So that's where our email message is going to be coming from. Then we'll click on select or create a new value for the subject. And here we're going to create a new value. And in the subject, we're going to put send email to requester, colon, corporate credit card, colon, subject. And then in the default value text box, we're going to enter corporate credit card, colon, request submitted, and then click on save. So that will be the subject line of the email that's sent out. Then we're going to click on select or create a new value for to. Here we're going to select our email string value. And then this is how our input should appear for our email message. And we can just click on apply message action. Next, we're going to click on save message. Now we want to hover over our decision element and create an outcome from our decision element to our message element. And in the name text box, we're going to write corporate credit card, colon, yes. Then we're going to click on the Create Business Rules button. And here we see the Business Rules window. So here we're going to click on the green New Rule button and then select or create a new value. And then we're going to select our corporate credit card Boolean value. And then hover over this drop down arrow and click on the equal sign. And then we're going to select or create a new value. And here we want to use our $true system Boolean value. And so we're saying that if the corporate credit card is true, then the email message will be sent to the user. Then we'll click on save. Then click on save outcome. And now we've created our outcome between our decision element and our message element. Next, we're going to place a step element below our message element. So come over here and drag a step element and placing it below our message element. And then for the name of this step element, I'm going to put in corporate credit card, colon, request submitted. And then in the content editor, I'm going to enter the word hello, space, and then insert a value. It's going to be our first name value. And then I'll put a comma and move down a line. Enter, you have successfully submitted your request for a corporate credit card. Move down a line, type in thank you. And then another line down, best, another line, Dell Boomi. And then we can save the step. Then I'm going to create an outcome from my message element to my step element. And I'm going to name this display confirmation. And then I can click on save outcome. And then that brings us to the end of activity 12. Now, please take approximately 30 minutes to complete Activity 12 using your activity guide and referencing pages 87 through 95. In this activity, I will continue to demonstrate how to create more decision and message elements and a new step element for the seat assignment selection in the Boomi Flow employee app. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, let's locate another decision element, and we're going to place it to the right of our check corporate credit card decision element. So we're going to put that right here. And then in the name text box, I'm going to enter check seat assignment ? And then click on save decision. Then I will place a message element below the decision element we just put on the canvas. And here you'll see you can use the dotted red lines to pretty much line up all of your elements to keep it nice and neat. And then for the name text box here, we're going to put in send email to requester : seat assignment. And then I'll click on save message. And then we're just going to create an outcome between our two decision elements. And here in the name text box, I'm going to put in the text corporate credit card : no. So if the checkbox for a corporate credit card is not clicked, our flow would go down this path essentially. Then here I'm going to click on save outcome. Now I'm going to double click on our seat assignment message element. And here I'm going to click on new message action. So for the service from the dropdown, we're going to select our Gmail service that we created. And then I'm going to select send email simple. Then I'll click on select or create a new value for the body. And I'm going to click on create a new value. And here in the name text box, I'm going to enter the text send email to requester : seat assignment : body. And then in the default value box, I'm going to enter hello and then insert the first name value and then place a comma. So then we'll insert the value. I'm going to select my first name string value. And then we'll place a comma at the end of the line. And then we'll move down to the next line. And here I'm going to enter your request for seat assignment has been successfully submitted, period. You should be receiving an email from our admin shortly. Then I'll just move down to the next line. And then I'm going to enter please use your unique ID : and then here I'm going to insert my unique ID value, so I'm going to click on insert value. And I'm just going to search by the ID. Here we have our unique ID, so I'm going to click on that string value. Then I'm just going to place a space and then type in as reference to check the status of your request. And then we'll move down to the next line. And then I'm just going to put in thank you, comma, move down to the next line, and enter Dell Boomi. And then we can click on save. So that's the email that will be sent. Then we're going to click on select or create a new value. Here, if you recall, we're going to click on our username, so our Gmail service, boomiflowtraining@gmail.com username. And then we're going to click on select or create a new value for the subject. And we're just going to click on create a new value. And here in the name text box, we're just going to enter send email to requester : seat assignment : subject. And then in the default text box, we're going to enter seat assignment : request submitted. And then click on save. And then for 2, we're going to click on select or create a new value. And here we're going to click on our email string value. And then we can click on apply message action. And so we have our email message created now. We're going to click on save message. Now we're going to create an outcome from our seat assignment decision element to our send email to requester message element here. And in this name text box, we're going to enter seat assignment : yes. And then click on create business rules. And then we're going to click on new rule. click on select or create a new value. And then here we're going to find our seat assignment Boolean value. So I'm just going to enter the word seat here. And here we have our seat assignment Boolean value. I'm going to select that. And then from this drop down, we're going to select equal to, or the equal sign. And then click on select or create a new value. And this is going to be our $true Boolean system value. So we've set our business rules. So if the checkbox is ticked for seat assignment, then they will receive the email message that we've created. We're going to click on save. And then we can save the outcome. And then we're going to place a step element below our message element again. And then here in the name text box, we're going to enter seat assignment : request submitted. And then in the content editor, we're going to enter hello, insert the first name value, and then place a comma. So we're going to insert our first name value here. And then comma, then come down to a new line. And we're going to enter your request for seat assignment has been successfully submitted. You should be receiving an email from our admin shortly. Then once we've entered that text, we can create a new line, thank you, comma, down to a new line, and enter Dell Boomi. And so once we've entered that text, we can save the step. And then we're just going to create an outcome from our message element to our step element. And we're going to name this outcome display confirmation. Then we can click on save outcome. Now we're going to create an outcome from our corporate credit card request submitted step element to our check seat assignment decision element. Then in the name text box, we're going to enter the words seat assignment. And for label, we're going to enter done. So this will create a clickable button that will have the word done on it. And for the appearance, we're going to select done from what kind of action is this. So that will render as a white button in our app then. So we're going to click on save outcome. Now we're going to bring our thank you step element back into our flow. So I'm going to drag this back and place it next to my seat assignment decision element. And then I'm going to create an outcome from my seat assignment decision element to my thank you step here. And in the name text box, I'm just going to enter seat assignment : no. And then click on save outcome. I'm also going to create an outcome from my seat assignment request submitted step element to my thank you step element then. And here in the name and label text boxes, I'm going to enter the words thank you. And then for the appearance, I'm going to select submit from the dropdown. So thank you will be created as a clickable button in the app then. And I'm going to click on save outcome. So this is our flow now. And I'm going to publish the flow now to take a look at how it works as our app. So I'm going to click on the publish icon. And then in the text box here, I'm going to enter boomiflow-employee app-completed. And then click on publish. And then run the flow. And now here we see our flow in our new window. So we're going to click on let's get started. And I'm going to make some selections here and enter some information to make sure everything's working properly. So I'm going to click on my salutation. I'm going to select Mr. Then I'm going to enter my first and last name. And I'll enter a phone number. And then an email. And then I'll select my office. I'm going to say that I would like a work phone. I'm just going to select brand 1. And then I'll take a company car. I'll select brand 2 here. My 4-digit PIN, I'm just going to make it all 4s. And then I'm going to check the boxes for corporate credit card and seat assignment. Then I'll click on submit. And here we can see that my request has been successfully submitted for a corporate credit card. So I can click on done. And my request for a seat assignment has been successfully submitted as well. Then I can just click on thank you. And then here I can see all of my information again. So we've checked that everything's working properly in our app. The next thing that we want to check is if we received the emails that we were supposed to receive when we submitted our responses to the form. So here you can see the 2 emails that I've received for my corporate credit card submission and my seat assignment submission. And here you'll see the email message that we created, as well as my unique ID is being referenced. Again, my unique ID is being referenced, and the email message that I created for each path is working properly. So everything in our app looks to be working properly up to this point. So we can close out of our app and return to the Flow platform. And then we can close the Publish Flow window. Now that we're back in the Flow platform on the build canvas, let's click on the Run icon. And so here we can just run our flow again by clicking on Run. And then our app is reopened, and we're going to click on Let's Get Started. And this time I'm going to enter the information again. This time, however, if you see the selections that I've made, I've selected remote for my office location. So therefore I won't be needing a seat assignment since I'll be working remotely. So I've entered all the other information, and I'm going to click on Submit. And then we can see that I have a response for my corporate credit card. And when I click on Done, I'm taken to the thank you step element that we created. So here it shows all of my information and is referencing my unique ID. And then if I check my email, I've only received the corporate credit card email since I had not made a selection for a seat assignment. So I'll only have this email arrive and won't have to worry about the seat assignment at all. Now I'm going to close out of the app to return to the Flow platform again. And then I can close the Run window. And now I want to create an outcome from my thank you step element to my employee app page element. So I'm just going to create an outcome from this element, my step element, to my page element. And in this name text box and label text box, I'm going to enter the word back. And then for the appearance, I'm going to select back from the drop-down. So essentially what I've done here is I'm creating a clickable button to allow me to go back within my app. So I don't always have to close the app and rerun it. I can actually create it so that it will go back within the app. So I'm going to click on Save Outcome. And then here, if you'll see, the outcomes are a little bit blended together. So if I click here, I'm going to see this green box that appears over my decision element. Actually, I'm going to select that green box, and I'm just going to drag my back outcome up here so it's a little bit better visibility. If I click on the canvas, it removes the green box, and now we can see where the back outcome is shown. And now that brings us to the end of Activity 13. Now please take approximately 40 minutes to complete Activity 13 using your activity guide and referencing pages 96 through 106. In this activity, I will demonstrate how to use the operator element to clear values from the page layout within the Boomi Flow employee app. Now on the Boomi Flow build canvas, I'm going to use an operator element. So I'm going to locate the operator element here, and we're going to just place this above our back outcome on our canvas. And then in the name text box, I'm going to enter clear fields and then click on new operation. And then here I'm going to select or create a new value. And for this first selection, we're going to select our first name string value. And from the drop down for how do you want to change the value, I'm going to select empty. And then so essentially what we're doing here is I'm going to create operations for clearing all of the values from our page layout. So the first one we've done here is the first name value that's entered. So I'm going to click on apply operation. And then we're going to click on new operation and select or create a new value. And this time we're going to select our last name string value, which is here. And I'm going to select empty from the drop down again. And then apply the operation. And then again, new operation. Select or create a new value. And this time I'm going to locate the salutation. So here we have our salutation selection. We want to make sure that we select the correct value here, so we want to use our salutation selection. And we're going to empty that. Click on apply operation. And then we're just going to continue to select all of the values that we had created on that page layout. So I'm going to walk through that here. We're going to click on new operation again. Select or create a new value. And this time we're going to locate our phone value. So I don't see our phone value shown here, so I'm going to search for it. So I'm going to just type in phone. And there it is, our phone string value. So we're going to select that. Empty it. Apply the operation. Then we're going to look for our email value. So we're going to click on new operation. Select or create a new value. Here's our email string. Want to empty this. And then apply the operation again. And then next we're going to locate our office selection. So we want to click on new operation, select or create a new value. So here we have our office selection. And then we're going to empty that. Next, click on new operation again. Select or create a new value. And we're going to locate our work phone selection. Here we have work phone selection. We're going to empty it. So we want to apply the operation. Then click on new operation again. Select or create a new value. And we're going to locate the work phone Boolean value. So we want to select that. Empty it. And then apply the operation. Then we're going to click on new operation again. And select or create a new value. And this time we want to locate our company car selection. So here we have our company car selection. We're going to empty this and then apply the operation. Then create another operation. And we're going to find our company car Boolean value. Empty that value. Apply the operation. So after clearing our company car Boolean value, now we want to click on new operator again. And this time we're going to be finding our unique PIN. So here we have our unique PIN. We're going to empty it. And then apply the operation. Then new operation. Create a new value. We want to locate the corporate credit card Boolean value, which is here. Empty it. Apply the operation. And then one more operation. We're going to locate the seat assignment Boolean value. Empty that. then apply the operation. And here we have all 13 operations that are going to be clearing all the values that would be shown on our page layout. So we're going to save the operator. And then we're going to delete this back outcome. Just click on back. When you see the bright green box, then you're just going to press the delete key on your keyboard. Confirm your delete by clicking on the red delete button. And then we can move the operator a little bit closer to our flow. And then we're going to create an outcome from our step element to our operator element. And in the name text box, we're just going to enter the word back and enter the same word in the label text box. So that recreates our back button. Then we're going to save the outcome. And here we can click on the outcome and move it, just to make it a little bit more visible. And then we're going to continue that outcome by creating it from our operator element to our page layout. So just enter back in the name text box, save the outcome, and then move it a little bit again. And now we have our operator element within our flow, and our back outcome is recreated. Then we're going to click on the publish icon, and we're going to enter boomiflow-employee app-clear fields operator, and then we can click on publish, and then we can run our flow, and then we want to click on let's get started. And then if we make some selections here in our page layout again, I'll just do that quickly. So here we have our selections that have been made. Then I'm going to click on submit and click on done after we've received our corporate credit card message. And then I'm just going to click on thank you. So that takes us to our final step element, which has all of our information shown. And now we see our back button here. So I'm going to click on back, and it takes me back to my page layout, and now all my fields are cleared because of the operator element. If we hadn't created the operator element, we would just see all the fields that we had entered previously. We could delete them and re-enter them, but now here we have a fresh new page layout that we can resubmit. So let's close our app to go back to the platform. And we can close the publish flow window. And now that brings us to the end of activity 14. Now please take approximately 20 minutes to complete activity 14 using your activity guide and referencing pages 107 through 113. In this section, we'll speak about how to create navigation within BoomiFlow. When a navigation is created, it allows you to jump around within your app in a non-sequential way, meaning that you can advance to various pages or step elements of your app in any order you desire. The image shown is a preview of how the navigation bar will appear within your app. This navigation bar is able to be previewed and created within the navigation editor window. Saving the navigation that was just created will create the navigation. The new navigation will then appear within the navigations window. This image shows how the created navigation we just looked at as a preview in Flow will be rendered within your app. In this activity, I will demonstrate creating navigation for the BoomiFlow employee app. Now back on our build canvas, we're going to click on our navigation icon here in the right hand corner, and then I'm going to click on new navigation. And then in the name and label text boxes, I'm going to put BoomiFlow. So this label will appear as a header essentially for our navigation in our app. I'm going to click on the plus sign. And then from the drop down, I'm going to select a map element. And that's going to be my Welcome to Dell Boomi map element or step element. Then I'm just going to change the label to BoomiFlow. Click on Save. And then click on the plus sign again. And this time the map element that I want to find is my employee app page. And I'm going to leave this name as employee app page, click on save. And then if I hover over the employee app page, we'll see a drop down here. So I'm going to click on this plus sign. And then the map element that I want to connect with is my app page again. I'll leave it as employee app page here, click on save. And then I'm going to add another element. So I'm going to click on the plus sign below my employee app page. And then this time I'm going to select my corporate credit card request submitted. And then here I'm just going to remove the words that follow corporate credit card. And then click save. And then I'm going to click on the plus sign next to the employee app page again. And then the map element I'm going to find is my thank you step element. So I'm going to click on that. And we can leave it as thank you, click save. So here we have our preview of what our navigation will look like in our employee app. So I'm going to click on save navigation. And then here's our navigation. So I'm going to close this window. And then I'm going to click on the publish icon. And here in the text box I'm going to enter boomiflow -employee app -navigation added. And now I can click on publish. And then I can run the app. And here we can see our navigation on our app. So we have our boomiflow heading. And then this navigation would be linked to our boomiflow step element. We have our employee app page. If we click on the drop down here, you can see that we can select our employee app page or our corporate credit card step element. So we can jump around within our app. We can also click on the thank you step element. So now we have our thank you step element here, and we can see the structure of it when we would submit any of our information to our employee app page. So we can click on boomiflow to return to the step element, and you can see how we can move around within our app. So everything's working properly within our app and our navigation, so we can close and return to the boomiflow platform. And then we can close the publish flow window. And then that brings us to the end of activity 15, and that brings us to the completion of our boomiflow employee app. Now you may take approximately 10 minutes to complete activity 15 using your activity guide and referencing pages 114 through 117.